so you can do better than that. Hello. Jeez. Hello. Am I sure I'm in the right place? Is it because it's a mental health conference? That's why everybody's quiet. Hello. All right, that's much better. Good morning, everybody. Very quickly, I want us to shake hands to anybody by your left and your right. Tell them it's so good to see you. Tell them I'm so happy that you're here. And ask them a very, very important question. How are you? Maybe today your problems can be solved. Maybe not mentally, it can be physically, financially, or spiritually. Any which of them, solutions will be provided today. One more time, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to one of the biggest and expository mental health conferences in the city of Harcourt. And the SANE Conference 2025, please can you put your hands together? So this event is set to bring enlightenment, education, information, and that is why the organizers, the Mental Health Plus Initiative and SANE Unlimited, have put together an amazing, fantastic lineup of speakers who are ready to dish out their ancient wisdom today. But before we continue, because we believe that there's a God that exists, and that is why we're going to be taking the opening prayer. And to lead us in the opening prayer, ladies and gentlemen, join me as a big welcome Miss Gloria. Please, a round of applause for her.
In Jesus' name. So we're having the opening prayer for SANE Conference 2025. In Jesus' name. Father, we thank you for the opportunity to gather once again. Thank you that this conference is a success. Pray that everyone that is coming here this morning, we bring them in one mind, we bring them safely. There will be no accident, there will be no incident, and this conference will go as planned in Jesus' name.
Amen. So before we continue, are there any Muslims in the house? Any Muslim? Anyone? Because we live in one Nigeria. Any Muslim? Okay, sisters, none. Please, I would ask that can we rise as we take the national anthem? So, please put your hands together for yourselves. It's quite interesting to see that a lot of beliefs we're not even voting at all. It's going to take us most of this national anthem. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, once again, you are welcome to SANE Conference 2025. That's the excitement. So yes, today the mental health, the SANE Conference 2025 is a mental health conference. And today we're going to be addressing a lot of issues and having conversations around the topic of mental health. From somatization to stress to trauma to child adversity, all in all, every single thing is going to be discussed here today. And as we continue, I would like us to say, how many people know the theme of the event? Anybody? Okay, so I'm going to tell you guys. So the theme of the event is calm. So when I say SANE Conference 2025, you say do the calm. SANE Conference 2025. When I do the calm, I do the calm. SANE Conference 2025. SANE Conference 2025. Exactly. So where I come from, I'm a Yoruba man. So we say everyone calling back, meaning put your mind at rest. Do you have anybody that's able here? Any good person? Or enjoy? Because I would like to know what it means, what they say, how they say calm down in the native language. Anybody, any acquirement mind? All right. And as we continue, we're going to be receiving the opening remarks from the person who has guided us here today, the one with the vision, the one with the lights, the one who has said, let there be light in the minds of men. Ladies and gentlemen, join me as we welcome convener of the SANE Conference 2025, this Alexander Conference.
Good morning. Thank you so much for coming out on time. And so please, I'll be reading to you. I hope you pay attention. And so in your paying attention, you'll get to understand why we are gathering here, and then why we'll continue together going forward. So good morning, distinguished guests, esteemed speakers and panelists, valued volunteers, well-wishers, friends, and incredible souls all gathered here. I welcome you with deep warmth to the 2025 edition of SANE Conference centered on the theme, calm. Standing before you, I feel a profound sense of purpose. Thank you for the welcome music. Okay, so standing before you, I feel the profound sense of purpose and gratitude because this gathering is not just another event in the calendar, it is a movement, a shift, a deliberate and immediate step towards inspiring a widespread shift towards proactive mental health practices. For too long, mental health has been tangled in misconceptions within our communities. Too often, it's been dismissed as though it's a modern excuse for weakness or bad behavior. Too often, it's only spoken about when someone reaches their breaking point. When the pain has erupted, the damage is visible, and the breakdown is undeniable. But today, through this conference and under the theme Calm, we are boldly declaring mental health is not a trend for the young, nor is it a foreign concept imported from elsewhere. It's a human necessity. Our ancestors called it peace of mind. Our parents described it as strength and resilience. Today, we have simply given it a new name, mental health. The struggle has always been there. The need has always been real. Calm. That is our call today for not just as a team, but as a lifestyle. A culture we are building, a new standard we are setting in our homes, in our workplaces, in our schools, in our places of worship. Because calm is not the absence of life storms, calm is the presence of inner steadiness. Even as the storms rage, it is the power of pause before the breakdown. It is proactive care, not reactive crisis management. It is the wisdom to tend to our mental well-being daily, not just when things fall apart. My friends, as we open this conference, I invite us to confront some of the old mindsets that we have kept or that has kept us bound for so long. Let's move mental health from being a label for the weak to being a lifestyle for the wise. Let's stop waiting for collapse before we care. Let's build habits, systems, and conversations that protect minds before they shatter. Let's end the division between generations. Mental health is not a Gen Z problem. Stress, grief, trauma, pressure, these have lived in every era and generation. Our elders felt them, our parents endured them, and our youth are grappling with them now. Mental health is not a trend, it is everyone's business. Don't be scared of overwhelming. Today, through Calm, we are championing a shift to proactive mental health practices. We are moving from crisis response to culture building. We are choosing calm as our new normal rather than chaos. And that begins with each one of us in the room. This conference has been carefully designed to help us make this shift. Our speakers are not here to drown you in statistics, they are here to equip you with tools, to show you practical, actionable ways to infuse calm to your personal life, your family, your workplace, and your community. We will explore how calm looks in leadership, how calm can prevent burnout in organizations, how calm can strengthen faith communities, and how calm can heal families. We'll discover together that calm is not passive, it is powerful, active stance that fortifies us. But let me also be transparent with you. This journey is not without sacrifice. As someone who has personally invested time, energy, and resources to bring this conference to life, with no tickets sold and no profit in view, I believe that we can create a world where mental health is no longer whispered in shame, but spoken in strength. I believe we can raise up a generation not just for youth, but of entire communities who practice mental well-being, and the same way we value physical health, spiritual growth, and financial success. So as you sit here today, I challenge you, make this personal, take it very personal. Don't just listen for knowledge, listen for transformation. Ask yourself, how can I bring calm into my own mind? How can I champion proactive mental health in my home? How can I help shift my organization, my church, my school from crisis response to a culture of care? Let's make mental health everyone's business, beyond age, beyond culture, beyond crisis, because when we choose calm, we choose clarity, we choose strength, we choose life. So I welcome you once again to SANE Conference 2025. Say calm.
Come on, is that the person that you forgot? Wow. Some very, very key things that she said. And the first one is mental health is not a Gen Z problem. I know most of the time when they say Gen Zs, oh, they're having a breakout, oh, they're tired, oh, they're stressed, and they always tackle as they are lazy people. Gen Z, are we lazy? Gen Z, are we lazy? So that's what it's covered and put together so that all these issues can be addressed properly. So I had a few minutes to chit chat with somebody who's going to be coming up now, and his portfolio is so impeccable. 13 years of experience in the medical field, 5 to 6 years in psychiatry. Ladies and gentlemen, join me to take a look at the keynote speech. Dr. Jack Soboye. It's a round of applause for him.
So the introduction, the introduction was too much. Like, how many years did you say you were 36? How would I? All right, thank you very much for having presenting Dr. Metu. He's supposed to be here, but he's unavoidably absent. And I'm still standing in for him. We're very good friends, and I don't know if I can fill in the shoes, but I'll try my best. So before talking, I was talking to him, and I was wondering why 12 years as 13 years as a doctor, why it took me so long to come into psychiatry. I told him something and he was easier. So after medical school, I somehow worked as a pastor. Then I discovered, hold on, don't laugh, very seriously. Then I discovered that out of every 10 persons who come to church for prayer, 7 or 8 had mental health issues. They come for prayer. And I'll tell them, as a doctor, I'll tell them, you need to see a psychiatrist and stop for it. Because of the kind of teachings in churches, where denial, there's what called defense mechanisms. There are subconscious, clinical psychologists will understand. There are subconscious processes that are placed unconsciously in the mind of the individual that causes them to deny the reality of facts. And a lot of people, because of the kind of teachings in churches, so I resigned from my position as pastor and decided to take up specialty in psychiatry. Because there were very few, I think, with consultants and senior registrars, Harcourt, the entire university, just about 18, handling the mental health of over 2 million, 200 something million Nigerians. So River State cannot give us 2 million. River State is up to 10 million. on average. So you can understand the impact, the importance of mental health. It's preventing use of drugs and substances everywhere. And then when Comfort was talking, I said something. She said, "Oh no, you said Gen Z." Now the issue about Gen Z is not that they are lazy. I'll go to the keynote. Allow me, I like talking when I speak. It's not that they're lazy, they're not Gen Z, they're not lazy. In fact, Gen Z is the future of Nigeria. Gen Z are the people who will bring the revolution. The problem with Gen Z is the lack of resilience. In fact, lack resilience, right? Because of civilization, globalization, and all that. So let's go to our topic for today. Let's see what we have. Next slide. Now, let's try to understand what mental health is. I wish this mic was not it would have been easy to walk around. Now, mental health is a state of mental well-being. It's not something that we see. It has to do with the mind, but it controls the entire individual, right? It controls the entire individual. So let's do something. Let's assume that medical doctor is a surgeon. He just is sort of his key instrument in his hands, right? Does perform surgical operations. And he has a damage on that hand and no longer perform surgery. But because he is a medical doctor with strict specialty and going to something that will not require his hands every day. So people know that this guy has something. But if his mind is tampered with, he may not be able to switch specialty. Is there any parent amongst our midst? Someone who's students, school last week. Any parent in our midst? Alright, well, I think I'm so happy that the psychologist, counseling psychologist, people counseling psychologist. Just look at it, do not focus your mind. Think of your kids that are just going back to school by the one is left. Why they do that? Just don't focus on it, just place your eyes on it and keep your mind elsewhere. Just do that for 30 seconds. After a while, you stop seeing why. The mind is not there. So you can sometimes you'll say, this person is not, person is not. Person was hearing you, but don't understand you. Because the mind was not there. The person was looking at you, the person was not seeing you. Because we look with our eyes, we see with our mind. That's so the mind is the most important organ in the individual. So mental health, we learn with so the mental health simply has to be well being that able to cope with stress in life. Realize their abilities, learn well, work well, and contribute to their community. Right? So at any one time, individual, the community, the family can be affected if the mind, mental health of the mind. The next slide. So just like physical health, body has mental health. It's like physical health. A woman walked in with her 19-year-old daughter. That was mathematics, you call it 6 years. I think you say 7 years. So if you're a statistician, 7 years, statistician 6 years. Whichever one you take, you're right. Now, the woman came in and this 19-year-old girl was bedwetting. My colleagues are behind. What we call doctoral NUSs. So still bedwetting, she had never stopped bedwetting as a child now. And she was going to the pageantry, this beauty contest. The woman went me for prayer. And I said, you don't need prayer, take her to the psychiatrist. And she said, God forbid, that is normal. So I stood up and I resigned. Because we have a lot of students in physics. So just imagine this girl becoming 26, 7, gets married. And the husband that she is on it. Yes, because she will definitely be your husband. You have to. Mom is pissing on the bed. You go back to the psychiatrist, then one is big problem. You are completely back there. Don't tell her what to do. Something. who probably never learned to control my life. Right? So not everybody, but once you get psychiatric mental health, everybody, classical what is it? And just like physical health, we all have it. Let's take the next one. Now, mental health is a continuum. We have where try, then we go to cope. Start coping. So when we fail to thrive, we enter into the region. We try to cope. And in coping, there may be maladaptive coping mechanisms. This is where people start using substances. So they can fall back to trying. But some persons, when they start using substances to cope, the stress, you can imagine that while we are here, the man in Abuja, his hands in our kitchen, in our pots, in our pockets, and making things difficult for families. So people are now struggling to, now going to the struggling region because they've adapted maladaptive coping mechanisms. And by the time they get to the red zone, come on well. And most people, this is where their performance is not performance, between coping and struggling. And by the time they get to the region of being on well, sometimes they start seeking for services in mental health practitioner. By the time they are coping and struggling, pastors are helping them. Most times they don't get reasonable help. So my colleagues have taught very well. December, towards the end of December, November, December, our wards are filled, so it's new wards. Then by the first night, it's empty. Then we don't, our patients, our clientele visits from December, ending January, February. Because pastors are not our work works, right? Telling them, and we discuss with see, we see no one. That's very Christian. Next slide. All right, next one. Okay, next slide, please. The next slide. Guys, attention and concentration is four. Health continuum. Mental health is not static, it changes over time. Right? And somebody has mental health issues, it does not mean you will always have it. You will always have it. It does not mean that, and having a mental health issue does not mean you cannot succeed in life or cope with regular day-to-day job. In fact, our job, once we find distress, we find dysfunction, we try to restore the people back to the normal function. Ensure they go handle their jobs. In fact, some of the okay. Okay, because of that, that's the problem. Our generation, but our generation has certainly this needs one. Right now, we don't even need just next week's very soon, just feel like this. All right, so people move along this continuum depending on the daily stress of their life. So, being struggling does not mean you're broken. It just means that you're human. So we all have different stresses and different struggle with different things. Doesn't mean that you're broken. It means that you're just human. So the goal is not to stay in thriving zone 100%. That's not the goal. The goal is to build resilience so that we can bounce back. Thriving zone. Remember our picture: thriving, coping, struggling, and unwell. It's not our job is not to ensure that you're 100%. But you know that's what a lot of churches preach. So sorry, I'm breaking your just. But that's what they preach. That it's well with you. There's nothing wrong with you. So don't never say what are these people? Don't say what you. No problem. For those things that are not face reality, break down. Right? But thank God it's changing now. So the job is not to stay there 100%. The job is to ensure that your function is restored, bounce back when you're out of gas. The next slide. Now, so what's the difference between mental health and mental illness? It's just very simple. Mental health is a state of well-being that's where from incidences to stress or to cope with it. Mental illness is when the person has gone to be unwell region. Person cannot get distress and dysfunction. Someone will ask me, why, even you, so it's just kind of, have you heard your name before you're walking out? Time, just had time in your phone and nobody had. What was that? Hallucination, or free hallucinations. We eat free hallucinations. We eat a lot, most times, so our pictures. But why haven't come to this like that? That's like it's a normal phenomenon. That phenomenon not being had distress, not due to dysfunction. What means dysfunction? Talking about self, can't take care of yourself anymore, can't brush, can't clean yourself, can't just think, you just wake up, day is just there. You know how you're going to have problems with other people, personal relationships, or you're going to have difficulty with your occupation, your academics, right? So she just said she just got nervous. But she continued. But when the individual begins to dwell on that thing, she cannot be, she begins to attribute it to the point she can't take care of herself. She starts having suspecting as being the person who is calling her name for monitoring her with CIA cameras or DSS agents, or she starts suspecting that people at the place of work are the cause behind the way she feels, and there's dysfunction. So at that point, the person takes it. And that's when the say mental illness is coming. Person cannot function. We all hear voices. We all get anxious. We all get sad. But the point where distress and dysfunction comes to, the point where, say, move or mental health and the concept mental illness. Next slide. Alright, so mental illness, let's talk about some statistics. Becoming something that is global body. In fact, I would want to say that substance use, drug abuse, which is also part of what the psychiatrist, the clinical psychologist, mental health physicians, is already at a pandemic level currently. I was in Abuja in January, and I was like, a psychiatrist. Oh, please want you to come into Abuja, there are very few. In fact, half of Abuja is that's what they use. It's a joke. It's not a joke. 2 weeks ago, I had to refer someone to my colleague, and the man told me clearly that instead of using and dealing, selling drugs and using drugs to develop some issues, I called my colleague and this man told me, so this is a man who is very quiet. He said, instead of me to see my son walk home the streets, I'll kill him. That's how serious it is. I said, coming in conception. I should say about 60 million people suffer from mental health problems. To come honest, for which we fail to realize anxiety. Once somebody says that start having things in work from or serious, will help you remove those things. Right? So one in four is globally get mental health. And so some contrary belief, sometimes worsen, stigma is one problem. The reason why we don't seek care is stigma. Stigma, what people say, they see me walking to the psychiatric facility, they say something is wrong. So because of the fear of psychiatry, the stigma, we change our mental name to neuropsychiatry. So we don't call it the neuro guys. One says, no, so somebody walks in my office and say, for the psychiatrist, that's not normal. So contrary with stigma and help stop people from preventing seeking help. Even religious belief the church, right? And stop people from seeking help. Next slide. Next slide, please. So, what factors influence mental health? We trained what called the biopsy was invisible. There are biological factors, genetics. There's something called the epigenetics, and that theory states that a lot of people already have mental illnesses residing in their genes, waiting for the appropriate trigger his wife's younger brother, one of his private university. And you know that for those of you here, so Kudos and the rest, I know, don't worry, don't need to, I are stressed, you so our leaders. Right? Don't say to like, don't take your time. Or maybe I listen, you know, you listen to right? So now this guy, he didn't, his friends, he didn't write it himself. But write it yourself, and he just, what they say, the guy said was, oh, he was there, he's in his mid-30s, he still starts to since we use it several times before the gene comes up. But well, mental imbalances cause mental health problem. Right? So our ladies who suffer with PCOS, notice that a lot of them end up with the psychiatrists and try to manage them with other specialists. So things nervous system conditions and stroke usually come with depression, movement disorders, hormonal changes during the period. I see a lady. Then she was 13 years old, what we call the PMD, menstrual dysphoric disorder. So anytime her period, she's about starting her period, she starts becoming psychotic, seeing things, shouting, destroying, breaking things. Let's talk about offenses. Right, so in terms of treatment, still fine. Which one is the one? How many people will say that? I'm going to say also. Environmental factors, childhood experiences, childhood experiences. This is very important. Your mother and father were fighting, came depressed, or you develop ADHD, especially the inattention time. Because you love your mother, you love your dad, they were fighting, so you just start zooming out. You stop concentrating in class, paying attention. You develop illnesses. See, it's a very simple way to do this. If you are that kind of person because of childhood experiences, especially from mother and father, you did not beg them to give birth to you. Did you? You don't even beg them to give birth into that family. Some of them know what they told each other when they say I love you, I love you. Then fights, withdraw yourself, sort them out. And let it not and if you're a parent here and you have issues with your spouse, stop spewing by into your children. You call your child and you tell them all the negative things. Your dad is this, you're sad with this person, you call your child. People develop bipolar illnesses from that. Develop schizophrenia from that. A lot of things. Stop. Stay with your negativity. Don't destroy somebody's future because of yourself. When you're telling the person I love you, don't shut your way. Socioeconomic status. Somehow, between last year and this year, the middle class was wiped out. Nigeria. So a lot of us said the women. It's not a joke. Middle class were like we packed our heads, we were going to work, we jogging past our mission. Middle class were wiped out. No, now I don't even bother about the other rates. I don't think it's close. Where the time is everything. They work social networks, work environment, living conditions, yes, lifestyle, healthy habits, substance use. These are things that can not engage in unhealthy habits. I was the lady yesterday, we have to discuss all adults. And she said she was relaxing. And she said she just, her sexual logic is kind. Just only apart from one matter. On Thursday, coming to the company and wanted to appear like a chapter. So he took 2 predator drinks, finished it. Not spent for 2 days, he was awake. I said the brain has become a predator. The next slide. Next slide. Alright, so the signs of mental health and symptoms include things like changes in feelings. We are trying to simplify this. Start feeling mood instability. Just one minute they have the next thing they are moving. Mood swings feel sad. People that can warn themselves, these things force themselves. What of the morning, what's the other pass on from them. You can kill yourself, commit suicide. Lots of interest, especially in things that were previously enjoyable, things they had interest in doing before. All of a sudden, person just loses interest. They just live in particular events. Sometimes the loss of interest doesn't go to that thing. You just do one particular thing. And they have to change their sleeping habits. The person stops sleeping, or the person sleeps less, or they cannot initiate sleep, cannot maintain sleep. They wake up early in the morning and complain. You have no energy. This low energy is difficult, it's different from those from cardiologists where we have other problems because of lack of physical strength, you can't drive. Keep talking carefully. Some persons are depressed and you eat, go out, down. Some are depressed and they stay away from food. Some are depressed and they will sleep for 8 hours. Some are depressed and they will not sleep at all. They drink. They are uncontrollable emotions. But just take note that there is help for you. The problem is seek help. Seek help. Talk to the right people. You go to your pastor, talk to them. The only way your pastor is not talking down or tell you to seek or stop you from seeking the psychiatric help is when you slap him. You understand? Most pastors talk it down. But when you slap him, you beg the psychiatrist. I was not money and my phone ran. The guy said it's prophet, so and so. Prophet. Assign the prophet. Say please I need help. Apparently he was conducting a deliverance and he did found for him to the psychiatrist. I don't need that. I'll send that to the hospital. Was trying to cast out of the body. Right, so what are the misconceptions? Some people feel that mental health is a sign of weakness, or someone who develops mental illness, the person is weak. It's not that. Different people see 10 persons are kidnapped, 2 or 1 person comes out with tears. In the last 1 year, I'm going to remember back, pathfinder twice to create of tears. Most people join the Navy because they want to engage the back home. It's just work and just like the happen. Just all these cars, this motorcycle, the oil bomb, and they deploy them to the north, southeast, or northeast, and go around. Never fighting, so he finds himself without water. He look tears more than the Air Force personnel and the army. They look it. So I've been seeing them. So it's not just saying the person is there. The person is a soldier, the person, no, this has come to mental health. Now, some people feel that those mental health issues are valuable. That is the idea. Even among those of us who lecture mental health, psychologists, psychiatrists, and nurses, we ask our colleagues to tell you that that's the reason why you don't want to do it. So that's what they're very feel that every person has a mental health problem is valuable. They feel that these guys working on the streets are valuable. So I had an experience, I was considered broke, and there was this guy that came to me, walked up to me, and so this teacher has a desire for my own. Goes to rest of his store, hide one sack bag, one staff, carry his bag, let him prostitute. And I stood because that's quiet. That's why I get my money. As I treat people to be the so I don't scared. And I said, he said, it's that it's not better. It's not. He said, no, sir, you come to just care of it. Now, the people inside the office here were standing and looking. Who is this guy that's interacting with this madman? And he said, okay, just stand and give up. And I went in there. Said, maybe that guy never maybe never because. So the guy said, this person, they get out. Just oh, so I told them, look like hospital, so she can recover. So this is the time to find out and then come out of the house. So they put them inside and she's depressed. She's depressed. This is the depression of the devil. What is not about physical health is more important than mental health. So they have mental health issues, they don't bother about seeing the physician or psychologist. But once they have little pain, they go to see the other physician. The mental illness is personal failure or is a behavioral this person just being stubborn. No, that is not what it is entirely. And so the next slide. So what can we do to improve our mental health? Well, some few things I suggest. Self-care, make self-care priority. Now, please, love your neighbor as you do what? Love yourself. Never love your neighbor. How much you try. You've not taken yourself out. You're not taking somebody out. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Make self-care priority. Down to your workplace continue. Get quality sleep. Sleep well, sleep well, sleep well. Have tasks complete. Sleep well. Cut down on your substance use. Some people take water, bullets that has vodka in it, and they will drink coffee, and they will now go and do a one side. They wait for you. Move and nourish your body. Do exercise. 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 You are scared that you'll kidnap in the morning when you are jogging. Yes, there's this roller now that I've seen on Facebook or Instagram everywhere. Get it. Do exercise. Exercise. Sports. Hold the table and sports. Do exercise. Do something. Make sure you exercise. It's not about weight loss, it's about keeping fit. It also helps. Now, for those who use substances, at some point last year, I started taking coffee more because I was using coffee more than necessary. I'll finish a tea 1 week, 2 weeks. And I met my colleague who is clinical psychologist, and she was like, no, not again. I said, no, I'm serious. I want to. I'm going to use, what do you call it? Coffee more. I need therapy. And she just, when she saw I was serious, listen, when she saw I was serious, so listen down. She said, tell me, like she asked about my exercising habits, and it was almost zero. So once you exercise, the body releases dopamine. And once you release dopamine, once the substance you're looking for is because of once you body releases dopamine, the amount of dopamine you need from the substance will come down. And that was it. I still use coffee, but my amount quickly reduced and it's reducing. I didn't try it, I didn't see a I'm a psychiatrist. So, so this is how I should go for anymore. Just develop routine. Plan yourself. The night before you sleep, plan your next disco. Some of us are so disorganized that disorganization can result in mental health problems. Before you sleep, get a sleep note or a shorter. Write out the things you want for the next day. Practice gratitude. That is one key to also help with depression. Appreciate your maker, appreciate God. We are not saying, now please listen, take note. Let's get this clear. Telling somebody who is already depressed to be grateful and appreciate God is as good as telling somebody who has a broken limb to run. This is not understand. This is not really new. But for those of us who are still in a coping or struggling region, learn gratitude. Helping not to shift your well side. Right? Learn gratitude. So give to others. When we give to others, assist people, talk to people. I was supposed to be with family today, family gathering, but I'm here. Because for me too, means a lot to me. I cannot be here, so I'm here. Right? This is part of giving. This is part of giving. So give to other people, help people. I've gotten help from me like that. I'm going to now. Don't just be self only me, don't just be selfish. Give to people, learn something every day. Learn something new. And it will help you. Only things on mental health. Not just only skills. Because someone is laughing at this skit easy that's so annoying. Explicit and sexual content. So annoying. Don't have anything to happen with it. Just two sets of crazy people in their room. Without anything to show. Harassing people with sexual content. Next slide. Alright, so what do we seek for? What do we seek for? Clarity of thought. Right? One, I tried as much as possible not to modify the slides. Try to keep it original stories. Just as it is. Now, it refers to clearness or sharpness and the order of mental processes. Sometimes when you have you're pressed to avoid anxieties, cool down, drop the work, take a sleep, wake up and handle it. You know, clarity of thought simply means it's the ability to think logically, make sound, rational decisions. Mental clarity improves when we're in a good mental state and when we are not overwhelmed by stress, fear, or rumination. Rumination means keep pondering over the same thing over and over and over. There's a journal. These days, even our phones have notes. Don't use them. Like, do a survey here. So one of the persons writes things in the essence, journal, write down things you want to do. They can clear your head. Because disorganized thoughts will lead to disorganized speech. Will also lead to disorganized behavior. And when we see disorganized thoughts from your speech and behavior, the easiest diagnosis to make is schizophrenia. That's also the mental illness. So we create space for clarity to your mind. On the next slide, please. So let's not forget that we try to have high performance, and we are not always on this striving. Depending on the stress, counter daily, we move from one place to the other. But what we try as much as possible is to ensure that we don't get to the overwhelmed zone. Get to the overwhelmed zone. Like I was struggling with sometimes because of the amount of work I had to do. I was working on my proposal, so I had to stay away from that. So I got to the struggling zone, I had to sit there. Or we call my colleagues to stay to struggle to tie me down and reject me. Who wants to get to that point? What was it just because I had to go there? I had my thesis, I had I know that if I continue like that, I'll get to that point. I'll take the whole team of company, I'll still have 5 days. You know what can happen. So let's have this at the back of our mind. That medium performance, oscillate between medium performance and high performance. We don't want to get to the low performance level. Next slide. Next slide, please. Alright, so next slide. Alright, so seek professional help. Mental health is the most important health. Mental health. Seek help. You don't have to be in crisis to get help. Right? Having been struggling is not a sign of weakness. Asking for help is also not a sign of weakness. It shows strength. It shows that you know your flaws, you know your weaknesses. You know what? Shame is social, it's not scientific. What you determine, what you say is shameful, is what becomes shameful to you. Do you understand? Shame is relevant. is relative, depending on society. What we call being ashamed depends on the society where you find yourself. Depends on also time and generation. Just because something is unseen does not mean it is unreal or unimportant. You cannot see the mind. Like I said, the mind is the most important. But we cannot locate where the mind is exactly. I cannot say it's in the brain. Some tell you the mind is here, some tell you the mind is here. But wherever your mind is, just know that you can go that way. So every day millions of people are crossing or seek therapy. Yeah. Now some people, especially church folks, like I'm not attacking you, I'm not trying to correct you. Advising somebody is not therapy. You advise yourself, you're not advising yourself. Therapy is scientific, it's learned. You learn it through a book, or also learn it by parents. You stay with somebody who has developed the art of therapy or conducting therapy over time. That's why a pastor does not make you a therapist. And a pastor's wife does not make you a marriage counselor. Let me finish writing your husband. Tell somebody how to keep the house. So you can next slide. Right, so in conclusion, everyone has a mental, not everyone who has a mental illness. Not everyone will have a mental illness, but we all have mental health. Right? That's like physical health. And we owe it to ourselves to manage our stress, not becoming overwhelmed by situations and everyday anxiety. Owe yourself that. Owe yourself that. Instead of coping and adapting, seek help. Acknowledge your shortcomings. Be open about it. And try to work. Thank you very much.
Please one more time for Dr. Jack summary. Thank you very much, sir. That was a lot on education and a lot on enlightenment. And I want us to do a very quick exercise because Dr. Jack talked about exercising so that to use the name of our subclasses. So please can we all stand? Please. Very sorry, can we all stand? So everybody, please can you just raise your two hands to the heavens? Just raise your two hands to the heavens. Don't worship God yet. Don't worship God yet. Hey, bring your hands forward. Everybody, yes, everybody. Your hands to the side. Back up. To the side. Forward. Up. Side. Backward. Up. And please sit down. Please put your hands together for yourselves. So one of the most important things that we can do from what Dr. Jack said is that mental health is very, very important. And there's something that's written here, and I wanted to say it together. Mental health is what? I can't hear you. Mental health is what? Mental health is what? So as you take care of yourself physically, ensure that you also take care of your mind. And now to the next session, he's a senior registrar and youth psychologist at UPTH, psychiatry, sorry. Join me as I will welcome Dr. Wodu. Please a round of applause for him.
Good morning, everybody. Dr. Wodu, standing somatization disorder. Can we have a project to use my tab because my site stands for I'm missing this screen. I'm missing the screen. Is the font large enough? Okay, so I'll quickly delve into the main business. This looks nice and everybody is top notch. But this mic is not just. can't even move my slides now. All right. Okay. First of all, on a lighter note, I want to let us know that one of the greatest hypocrites have the world are doctors. See, when Dr. Jack told me this, we doctors will not sleep. In fact, they will begin to sleep when patients suffer. Stay awake, eating and reading. But for the past 3 nights, I've not had it to sleep. Therefore, this topic, trying to compensate something like that. Okay, so quickly, understanding somatization disorder is a topic. It's a mouthful, isn't it? Somatization disorder. Okay. I want you to know that the word soma may not be English. Simply means body, your body. So when you say somatization, you are saying something happening to the body. Okay, something unpleasant, that's a disorder, right? Happening to the body. But this topic is important because what is happening to the body, you can't really tell what it is. You can't tell what it is. Have you ever gone to a hospital with genuine complaints and after spending a month doing investigations and doctors examining you and telling every doctor you meet about how the problem started, what you have done, the suffering you're going through, and they could not tell you what problem is. You're taking medications and all that, and the problem still continues. Popularly, pastors will say it's a spiritual problem. That's what we are going to talk about today. We're going to put some science behind the spiritual problem and see how we can spiritualize bring peace to the problem. All right, so next slide, please. We are going to do this using this topic, outline, production, and to make it more interesting and less demanding, because this topic, even for medical professionals, can be quite disturbing. A lot of jargons, a lot of abstract things, and then at the end of the day, the moment you give me everything just flies out from here. So I'm going to tell a story, okay, and from that story, can find our bearing and find ourselves perhaps and make sense of the overall concept. Okay, following that, we now look at the main issue, short definition and overview, nothing hard. Then we will look at similar conditions that look like the subject matter. Then we look at the diagnosis, how we end up saying this is what it is. And then we look at some of the causes of this, look at the risk factors, some of the things that may predispose someone to developing this condition. Then we look at how it affects us on a daily basis, especially those who suffer from it and those who have people who suffer with the condition. Then we look at the treatment approaches. Don't worry, treatment approach is not meant to be a doctor, a professional, just to give you headings on how a doctor may want to approach the problem. Then we will conclude just about 8 slides. Most of the talking I will do without reading so much from the slides. So, are we settled? Okay. Take a deep breath, please. Yeah, that's great. Now you can see that brain. You can see that man. Those muscles. The few lean covering the teeth, thoughts, future, and all that. You can see it's connected to the brain. Yes, it is. The brain is a seat of most, it's the most important organ, like Dr. Jack has said. It's the most important. It governs and controls a lot of things about us. In fact, one of your kidneys bad, or you broke a leg, or broke an arm, or whatever, you can manage the other one, isn't it? But if the brain goes bad, everything falls apart. Everything falls apart. You are who you are because of your mind. And your mind is somewhere in your skull. And better in that organ you can see exposed there, that's where your mind is. You know where the symbol for love came from? It was from a false assumption that we think and feel from our chest, something there, that organ we call the heart. All right? That was the initial assumption, and it caught fire. Poets and the writers now formulated that image you see and all that. And in fact, they now do that little baby angel, an arrow or cupid shooting directly into it, and say that's how we fall in love. Actually, nothing happens here. Just one muscle, like a small pump, just pumping regularly, pumping regularly, pumping regularly. And when it goes higher, it doesn't mean it's thinking, no. It means, yeah, you're thinking up there. That other guy is the one doing the thinking. That other guy decides who to love, who to hate. That other guy decided whether to come here or not to come here. That other guy is the one paying attention. What I'm saying, that other guy is the one that made the decision on clothes you wore and the haircut you have. That guy over there, everything. And that guy too made some people wear yellow vests to this program. So that is a very important guy. Now, sometimes something can go wrong. Arms are complete, the body is healthy, everything is working well. But that guy begins to misfire and begins to generate symptoms, feelings, experiences that are felt genuinely. You pains your back, you pains in your stomach, your period becomes dysregulated and you begin to bleed, and doctors check and check and check, they cannot find anything. Not because there's something wrong in you, because this guy just somehow malfunction, started generating messages, signals randomly, and posting them to different parts of the body. So the mind can generate and can regulate how you feel every other part of the body. I want us to know that at the back of our mind. Yes. Next slide, please. So let's look at the case. I hope it's not too tiny for you to see. Okay. All right, that's fantastic. So I'll read slowly, and I want you to read along too in your mind. In your mind. Then we'll discuss this situation. And by the time we are done discussing it, we would have gone halfway through the presentation. I will bore you less, okay? So it says Mrs. SD, the application for the name of the real person. She's 32-year-old mother of 3 children. Had consulted her general practitioner, also called GP, at least once every 2 weeks for the past year. That is a total of how many times? 140 times in a year. Okay? 140 times. Every week, she sees the doctor at least 2 times. Wow. Her GP had known her for over a year since she moved to the area after an acrimonious course. Her medical history, part of which was obtained from her previous general practitioner, was substantial, meaning the folder was information was made. Overseas they use electronic record system. So this woman would have generated so much in the computers that printing them on paper, there's just a ring of paper, so they probably just copy it on a hard drive or a thumb drive and sent her to the new doctor. So, and her health difficulties had precluded her from employment. Two things has already happened in her life. She has lost her marriage, she has lost her job. And menarche is that time when the woman first saw her period. Am I correct, ladies? Yeah. So at menarche, she was diagnosed with dysfunctional uterine bleeding and dysmenorrhea, meaning that the moment the time came for her to be a woman, like her father used to say, she started having some kind of bleeding that was not controlled. Instead of it bleeding to end when it's supposed to end as one, it will come at any time, it will flow harder than it's supposed to. That was her problem. Then she had this pain that was more than the usual pain women are supposed to experience when they are having their period. Hers was out of this world. It was enough to make them take because several times. It was enough to make doctors launch investigation. It was enough for them to give her medications. Yet, it didn't go away, it continued. All right, so extensive investigations, including 3 exploratory laparoscopies. Now, when we want to ensure that the tummy looks nice, the body is not distorted so much, we avoid using the knife. Just make a small hole, pass a tube camera, connect it to a big screen like this one, and then we manipulate that tube to move around the body, see everything we want to see in the body. And then the tube too can empower it to have a knife, small knife, not a big one. And then we cut off whatever we want to cut off. We still use the same tube and suck it out. And at the end of the day, the person gets up from the theater table and leaves the same day. When you check, the stomach still looks flat, still looks nice. You never tell the doctor entered there came out. So she has had that intervention 3 times already. 3 times already. And then it revealed no physical cause for persistent upper abdominal pain with alternating diarrhea and constipation. So the problem has moved from bleeding without cause, pain for no reason, to pains in the abdomen, okay, and diarrhea, and then constipation. She goes to the toilet, she sits down there, she just pushes real hard, nothing comes out. And at other times, for no reason, without eating anything detrimental, she begins to just go to the toilet often, passing watery stool. So investigations were launched and nothing was safe. 3 years ago, Mrs. Esther presented with urinary frequency and dysuria. More problems, more problems. Like her village people were not resting. So she started having frequent urination. As we were seated here, if she were here, she would have gone to visit toilets, okay, or the restroom, like 3 to 4 times. Go there, just a little urine, she comes back. Next time she feels it more, she goes there, just a little urine, she comes back. And then at other times, she begins to feel pains when passing that urine. I can already see the faces of some ladies tightening up, feel bad already. Okay? It's a true life story. Someone actually went through all this, and some people are actually going through something similar. And then following these exhaustive investigations, including cystoscopy and other tube passed into the urinary bladder, urodynamic studies, another fancy study again being done, all costing money of course, and radiography, x-rays, CT scans, MRIs, and all that were all done. And we are all what? Normal. You see normal there? Did you see normal there? At this point, of course, we have gone to see like 30 pastors. Some laying legs, others laying hands, others laying head, some wearing you their suits, some asking you to sit on their chair, some asking you to come and cook for 1 week in the house, mop the floor, do this, others saying move into the church, sleep for a month, Others say buy coconuts, bring in, lay hands on the coconut, make pronunciations, and so forth and so on. Mind me, I'm a Christian. See, I like pastors. I just wish that more doctors will be pastors so that church members can benefit more. But some of the things we hear and see, they are not. Okay? So, unlike my friend, Pastor Jack, I'm a friend of pastors. Okay? All right. So, where were we telling this lady stories? Okay, everything was normal. She had also been referred to various specialists, including a rheumatologist. Rheumatologists are specialist doctors who are particularly specialized in taking care of autoimmune conditions. Okay, pains resulting from conditions resulting from autoimmune conditions are conditions where the body begins to perceive itself as the enemy. So the cells of the body that are supposed to protect you from external enemies somehow begin to misidentify other cells of the body as enemy and launch a full-scale war, internal war in the body, and start damaging things up and down, up and down, up and down. It's one of the most difficult conditions we have because before it's identified, so many times a lot of damage has been done. So she saw these persons because of all the problems coming up in different parts of the body. And then, okay, so including the rheumatologist due to chronic neck pain that she described as the pain that has been my kids' lives. Okay, so she was also having pain on her neck. And judging the nature of all her complaints, she was to see a rheumatologist. And again, physical examination and investigations revealed no abnormalities. Mrs. SD was taking up to 30 protein tablets daily and could not sleep without two different types of sleep. Protein pills are some of the strongest pain reliefs of pain that's the world. They are reserved for when everything else are failed. Because they are powerful, they are addictive, meaning that take it more than the doctor said she did, or for longer than they said she did, become an addict. You begin to need more and more and more, and stopping it becomes a problem. I remember managing a very well-looking girl who had cancer. Following repeated surgery for the cancer, she was placed on more. And how the anesthetic is continue is that at the end this reason that God is in Nigeria and specified for that. All right. So how are the persons to say interesting one? That was eyes unmistakable of spiritual knowledge. Unmistakable. All right. So if you look at the lady's face, see that she's doing well, isn't it? And if you look at the doctor, you can see that the doctor is doing everything and had now. Let's have a look at what has come to next slide, please. So, what is somatization? Well, first of all, I would like to know that somatization disorder is just one problem under a big umbrella, not really umbrella, called somatoform disorder. Okay? Somatoform disorder has many children, and it's an umbrella term for conditions There are doctors have looked for problems and they could not find it. So the answer is psychiatrist, come. You are the next person who is come and tell us what is really on. Alright? So we call it somatoform disorder, and under that umbrella we have many children. And the first son is somatization disorder. Now somatization disorder is a condition characterized by physical symptoms for which there is no cause. There is no not get what the problem is. They are confused. So the second consult was brain is actually where the mind is hidden. We put one or two together, we throw carrots on the ground, we dance around it, and then we listen. After a while, we hear something. And when I say this is somatization disorder, meaning that somehow the person is having problems as a result of some issues going on in the mind. Okay? And we name it that for that. It's also called medically unexplained or functional symptoms. Okay? In fact, there are other derogatory names. Those other doctors call it. They say they are fat folder syndrome, meaning that these people are just those patients that stop you writing until your folder becomes so big. Have you been to use your folder that becomes so big that there's no level? They are using plasters to gum them together and all that. When you pick them like a pencil, you can start going to just to find the last place where the last doctor is. So it's also called that. It's also called worried well. They look well, but they are worried. In fact, the doctor said there is nothing wrong with you, but you know all is not well with you. All right. So let's look at a few statistics. And you see that 47.7 to 57.7% in primary healthcare settings in Nigeria. Meaning that most people who go to the hospital, especially the primary health centers, have somatoform disorder. Which one of them is somatization disorder? They have complaints for which examination, investigations in the world close to 8 billion now, or even more, right? Nigeria, we are increasing the number of the world because we can't make money to make babies. Yes, that's why the poor have more children. What will you do with all the time you have on babies? Yes, so all over the world, when you add India, China, and their population, and everybody else, it becomes 5 to 7% general population. All right. Then young people tend to be more affected. 11 to 21% of young people. All right. Middle age is then 20%. And the older people, 1.5 to 13%. You know why the older people who are supposed to have cardiac habits? Because many times when you check the old people, you find something. It's a doctor. And you can just blame it on that thing. If, for instance, you look at the old man's heart, came to you, pains on the leg, pains on the back, you know, not seeing his body to his wallet, and all those things. And you just check his heart. Ah, sir, your heart not looking well. That's the problem. That's the problem. So you can blame it on that. But meanwhile, he has somatization disorder. So because of that confusion, the problems of old age, you tend to have a lesser value, but it could be more. Now, sex, women say, oh yeah, you are doing well. 10 to 1 compared to it. So more women are affected. You know, women have so many parts that things can go wrong more than men. Am I lying? In parts. Everything the man has, I didn't have exactly rations. Or we have additional work. So they tend to have so many parts. When you have so many parts in the machine, you tend to spend more. So 10 times more in kingdom. 10 times more than us. And then of course, oftentimes begins because someone is parenting. Oftentimes it begins when someone is below 30 years of age. Now check yourself. See it again. Have there been time when somehow just kept on having this feeling, this sensation in your body, and you cannot really place it? Probably went to the chemist. Let me start from there, but that's very cheap. Went to the chemist and he did drugs for you. And he told you it was malaria. After you took malaria drug, back again, they gave you another malaria medicine. It did not stop. You went back again. It's like 3 different medicines that came to you. You don't stop. And somehow someone encouraged you to go to the hospital. You went there, doctors did every investigations, disproved malaria, disproved typhoid, disproved every of those things, and then told you to go home and there was nothing wrong with it. Or just gave you multivitamins, you are not happy. You are not happy. And you went back. The problem continued until one day you just woke up. Or you just became so busy with something and you forgot to check for the problem. And the problem went away. Okay? So yes, it happens, especially when people are young. Just like this. So how do we tell someone has somatization disorder? First of all, the person will have multiple, maybe symptoms, not just one, many times more than 2. Sometimes it could be up to 5 or more. Okay? Sometimes in the midst of this multitude, the person may choose specific ones that trouble them the most. See that they are having running stomach, they are having constant hiccups that they don't know where it's coming from. Okay, sometimes it could be that they are feeling movement sensations in their body. Yes, can happen that way. But the one that bothers them the most is this chronic feeling of tiredness. Even when they have slept enough, even when they eat a whole bag of what they like in it. Okay? And they still feel tired, exhausted for one reason, Those are the most pressing ones, there are many. And to make it diagnosis when you have plenty symptoms. And then these symptoms are recurrent. Sometimes some symptoms will pack their lives and go, and new ones will take up the space. It's changing, like this lady we just talked about. So these symptoms are genuinely felt. This person feels it. It's not pretending. Real. Real. Sometimes that can make them cry, make them feel worried, and make them ask questions. Okay? We keep having this. So a lot of systems are affected, the urinary system. Sometimes it can affect even some aspect of the functions of the brain. Yes. Some people will just be there, and next thing they start feeling like they are paralyzed or one part of the body is weak. Meanwhile, there is nothing going on. Feeling it genuine. Or sometimes they will just begin to sweat excessively. Sometimes the heart will start beating abnormally too. They feel it. Right? So it can affect multiple systems, reproductive system, digestive system, It's not due to a known medical condition. And it's not because this person smokes or does weed or does crack cocaine or does colos or Thailand or Arizona. Okay? No, not because of any of that. Those things are bad on their own, but it's not because of that. Or it's not even due to another mental health condition. Because there are some mental health conditions someone will have, and they begin to have what we call somatic hallucination. Meaning that even when someone has not touched them, they feel someone is touching them. Sometimes they feel as if there is hot objects placed on their body, or a cold one placed on their body, or they feel as if there is snake in their body, and that will make them feel they have spiritual attacks. Some will say that they have worms in their stomach, or they feel like an organ in their body has gone rotten. Also, it is not really because those things are true, it's because they are ill. So it's not because they have mental health condition. These people don't have a mental health illness per se as we define it. It's just because something is generating symptoms. Now, another thing you notice among these people is that they refuse to accept reassurance even from many doctors. When they visit a hospital today, the doctor does all the tests, examine them, check them, they're cooperative, everything. The doctor says, sorry, madam, can't find anything wrong with you. You sure this is really what is going on? You say, no, this doctor is not good. Good doctors are all Japan, but are fake ones. We move to another friend who recommends, oh, try my doctor, that doctor is wonderful. That doctor is wonderful. Now he is so spoken. He cares a lot. Another, he refer you and you go. That one starts again. After listening to you, doing tests, examining, doing everything, and he can't find anything, and he summons the courage to tell you, his father, your tests are all okay. I don't think there's anything really wrong with you. You move to the next person, and then the person keeps going, and then they end in the hands of these Bobo Miche sellers, these charlatans, Baba this, Baba that, with one drug or one concussion that can cure everything, being popped on the road. Or you fall into the hands of these charlatans, pseudoscientists that move about. They say they have magnetic quantum resonance analyzers. And they write to the church, say, Pastor, they are storming your church. Want to diagnose your impact, general checkup. They give you data showing the symbol of World Health Organization. They say they sent them. And then the pastor say, oh, this is, they say it's cheap, affordable. They come. Everybody lines up. They tell you, you see this machine, just hold it on your hands. You see this computer, it will scan you from your head to the toenails, and it begins to read. At the end, there is problem everywhere. Problems everywhere. From the hair, there are problems. To the scalp, problems. To the skull, problems. Hormones, haywire. Your tongue, problems. Your teeth, problems. Your eyes, problems. Everywhere in your body, there are problems. Everything, some of them will say, you will just get red. Then you might die, you are about to die. They will tell a man who slept with his wife yesterday that, in fact, there are your arteries in your penis are blocked. And then, when you are done, you feel as if the Holy Spirit descended on you and convinced you and convicted you of all the things they are committed. And then you are afraid, literally shaking. And then you wait for it. We have this supplement. All you need to do is pay and supplying it. You can't find it in the market. Supplying it. It contains fully unsaturated, monounsaturated fatty acids. It contains secretive stem cell. That's the one that is a finishing table. That will repair everything, turn you like a baby. Stem cells, and these things are tremendously expensive. So they substitute one bondage for